Hi everyone, welcome back to THU TV. I'm Ian Fales. We're still here in Malta, where it's pretty windy. I'm joined by Viginnie Bourdin.
Perfect.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm very good. This is the best background that we can have.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
The sea is quite tumultuous,
yeah.
but up here is really beautiful.
Yeah, and it reminds me Assassin's Creed, where I've worked on the sets over there for the Andy Nicholson production designer.
Oh, right.
So it was there.
For a particular film?
Assassin's Creed.
Oh, Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Right.
Where they burn people and attach like me. You're going to hopefully to be gentle with me and not burn me alive.
I'll be very gentle. Well, we're going to talk today about concept art.
Yeah.
That is your field.
Yeah.
You have your own company called The Art of Direction.
Yes.
And your story is really interesting, I think, because you started as a concept artist and now you kind of create the department that deals with concept art and sort of manage that process as an art director.
Well, I think it's just a normal evolution as when you're, putting your hand in the dirt, still keeping your hand in the dirt and evolving as helping others doing the same, yeah?
Yeah.
So,
what's some of the most recent shows that you've worked on that you're allowed to mention, just so that we know?
I just finished Captain Marvel, so apart the names, I can't tell you anything about it.
Yeah, what's the plot of Captain Marvel?
That's it. That's our serious face, we said.
Captain Marvel, and you're on Jurassic Fallen Kingdom?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Amazing experience. For me, one of the highlights was to bring the team who helped designing and working on the sets. And because I was there, I was able to actually see absolutely every department and show them the art craft that goes after their concepts.
Yeah.
And they can honor it because it's an amazing. I mean, the UK art craft team are outstanding.
Yeah.
And then you walk in the design you've been doing, it's just mesmerizing.
Yeah, and so much production happening in the UK as well, isn't there? With that and the Fantastic Beasts. And, yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go back to the beginning a little bit.
Okay.
Because I think your story... well, from 1-year-old.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. I was hearing the music that my mom was doing, compositing. She was a musician doing her own song and also interior architect. So, I was like looking at mini sets during the day, also her illustrations.
Right.
And listening to her songs. Yeah. So
and do you feel like that was actually something that led you to love art and that world?
I'm born in it. My both parents were in that. My father had an advertising agency at some point. He also did art craft. So I'm just basically, and my grandparents were doing operette. You know, this kind of like super tacky, cheesy form of opera that they force you to see when you're a child. It's like, but it's fun.
And did you study? And what did you study when you sort of finished school?
I just did from 14 years old, I left for never coming back to the same art school that my parents did.
Where was that?
L'Essat in the north of France, in Roubaix. It was an amazing school that had more basically equipment than the Parisian schools. Yeah. And I was on my own with this kind of big camera there. Way too heavy, they had like a sort of spaceship panel controls, and I was doing already some video test and experimentation. And that was only me on my own because there was the material available.
And what sort of artwork were you doing? Just your personal kind of illustration or drawing or anything like that?
I mean, I've been academically formally trained. And then it took a few years after the school for me to start doing some illustration a bit, which very, very little. That was published in Digital Art. That gave me confidence. Yeah. And from that I created a short movie with a real team, with a real producer. with 20 people. Took 3 years of my life, and it was 10 minutes. So I said, never again I do a movie. I don't want to be a director.
And now you work in movies
Yeah, but I'm not the director.
No.
I'm not, come on. This is a big job.
Right. Okay, so what happened after art school?
After art school, well, I did 7 years of background as a background artist for animated TV series.
In France?
In France.
Yep.
Did work for advertising, printing, bits and bobs everywhere, until I do this short movie, and
Right.
until I go in Annecy Festival, wake up too late, don't bother about finding a job. There was just like some company called Vanguard Animation
Oh, yeah.
recruiting all in Europe to set up their premises in London.
Yeah. Was that for the Pigeon movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't remember the name of the film.
Valiant.
Oh, Valiant. Yeah, that's right.
So I was, 2D artist. They were 3D. I could not understand anything in English, and I just queue like everyone else just for fun at the end. And oh yeah, let's go back to find my portfolio. I'm going to have tales to narrate when I will be back. And at the end, it was we are going to call you back.
Okay.
Interview. Yeah. I couldn't still speak English. I learned by heart. The presentation of my portfolio. I was in front of people talking very well, and eventually had only 10 minutes left for me, so I just repeated exactly what I learned by heart, and I was hired 2 months later.
Right, and that's to London.
To London,
Yep.
where I still don't know how to speak English. And luckily they hired other French people to translate for me, and I'm hiding. You bang your head when people, you understand few words, not really what the guy is saying, but you just say, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you ask a question on that word, and the person believed that you understood. That's how I survived the first 6 months until I understand English.
Wow. And what sort of work were you doing on the film?
I was hired as a lighter. And from that, it was great. We've been trained by the leader team from PDI DreamWorks at the time, so they really taught us the great basics on how to lead. And we had a DOP from the movie industry, so leading us as well. So it was a great learning curve, basically. And well, then after. The movie was ending. Where, guys, are you applying? It's cool, London, I want to stay.
Yeah.
And I applied, I sent 4 letters. One was to MPC, and I was found the following weeks. I got the chance, it's always like that. You are at the right time, at the right place. To be called by Adam Valdez, known today for Jungle Book, known before for being the supervisor of Gollum. So he was already kind of a little star, yeah?
Right.
And I don't know nothing. I don't know what VFX is. And I basically meet him.
Oh, we're talking about Adam Valdez, are we?
Adam Valdez,
yeah. Okay.
The Adam Valdez.
Yeah, great guy.
The beard. And I was so ignorant, but I had a year of working in the dark room in London by winter, and I need sun, I need daylight. So I say, if I have to be a lighter for you, I just want to love the movie for what I'm working for.
Okay, right.
And he kind of liked that, I don't know.
So you went to MBC as a lighter?
As a creative lighter.
As a creative lighter.
And there was nothing to lit. So I started to draw. And it was for a pitch that never has been made for producer and director's reasons out of our hands. Yeah. And I started to do in 2D what I thought could be a good start for lighting, which is color script, and which was what I learned the previous years. And from that drawings, he already had a lot of great artists working for him on that project, like Alberto Mielgo.
Yeah.
So I got, introduced to the cool artists in UK from animation background. And I started basically to straight away do layouts for them and actually end up with Adam Valdez, creating the key picture to sell, meaning your picture need to worth $40 million at the time. So meaning be careful of what you put in there. So being conscious of the function of a concept art.
Yes. What it was being used to sell.
Yeah, it's these pieces needed to stand at least a 20-minute talk between producers, directors, and facilities. And you can do something at the time that they can't execute. Yeah, it's a long time ago.
Right. And at that point, did MPC have an established? You're right. Have an established art department or concept visual development department?
Not at all. I'm going to.
That's all right.
They say casual. Yeah, you say casual.
You can just leave
This
it.
is the wind. This is the wind. No, and there was no even concept art VFX position at the time. They used to work with matte painters to create images to sell.
Because matte painters generally perhaps had a more illustrative or 2D background, or
they were the
used
one who could
Photoshop.
draw.
And
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the technique of matte painting is fairly long and tedious, as we know it. So I was coming from animations. I'm not being animator, but illustrations. Yeah. And so I was eventually freer of the technique, so faster. And it's the collaboration with Adam Valdez, basically, where I started to develop tools or maybe workflows somehow for him. He was this guy with so many ideas.
Right.
And at some point, look, with my French ignorance of the American industry, and you didn't say that last week. You said the opposite, You don't say that normally, but I was a bit blunt. And he kind of with a lot of kindness, welcomed it. And I became his bullshit meter for a time until he said, could you be also a captain? So, yes, sir, captain, just to counterbalance. And he taught me a lot. On how to communicate to other artists as well.
Right.
And I basically helped him organizing ideas and sketching ideas.
Okay. And so how did that then become something that really started up the VFX art department or concept department?
It's because it's a combination of things. I thought, you guys are missing that type of role that exists into animation. And also because other supervisors like Nicolas Tadi was working on the Oompa Loompa of the Charlie and Chocolate Factories, and later X-Men, needed also some concepts.
Right.
And kind of challenged me a bit. I said, can you do that? And, I was fast at the time and I said, you did a lot. Okay, can you reproduce that? We try.
But do you mean he was just coming to you directly?
Because I was here available.
Yes.
And they understood that Adam was using me as a sort of weird position to create things.
Yeah.
I don't know how it was in their minds, how they see it.
Sure.
But it just came because I was there available. And maybe less expensive than matte painter at the time. I don't know.
While you were there, did MPC then develop a fully fledged concept department or art department?
I basically helped few concepts here and there and get first Adam Valdez winning a pitch for the Golden Compass. So we were both of us out of MPC to work with the director directly.
Right.
So I became a production concept artist during that time. And they were asking me, Virginie, when do you come back? Virginie, I don't know, it's cool here. I was working with Dennis Gassner, I was learning a ton, and he's a character. So,
yeah.
I mean, Dennis Gassner, 2049.
Yes.
Starting with Apocalypse Now, I mean, is a monument.
Amazing. Actually, maybe for people who don't sort of understand how it works, on a big film, there's an art department, usually led by the production designer,
yeah.
and there's usually an art director as well.
Yeah.
But then on a big visual effects film, that work will be done up front by the art department, and sometimes by the visual effects company
yeah.
and its own art department. But during the making of a film, there's usually story points and characters and things that continually need to be
yeah.
developed, and that's where a visual effects art department comes in. Have I got that right?
It is right, yeah. And it has evolved, and
yeah.
and now VFX art department are really a huge contributor or essential contributor of the creative process of a film.
Yeah.
But at the time, basically, we started with pitch, where you try to get the first green light of the movie. That means eventually, like after Narnia, when they asked me to create an art department for Narnia, few years later it became fashionable, Framestore came. So basically, VFX companies started to have, if not an art department, but one people doing concept for them.
Right.
Dineg as someone as well. And we all at first helping that the movie comes in UK. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
And we eventually we know that we are helping all each other kind of, and we are helping firstly the VFX supervisor of the film to make things happen and to enter in the dance basically. Then after is the second green light, where you need to warn a sequence for your company, and that's where there's a bit of competition here, obviously.
Right. So okay, let's talk about how your work at MPC. Yeah. And also getting some experience in production design, yeah. morphed into your own consultancy. How did that happen?
Okay, so I did almost 10 years at MPC. They wanted for me to have like a second in command, and as I created a workflow that was, I think, really unique based on what the supervisor needed. I couldn't find anyone that could fit. They didn't know how I worked, but he worked, so they didn't really question. And still, we want you to have someone. And eventually, I come across the Ravi Bansal, which I met few concept artist friends, and heard him talking about concept artists, how he would basically defend the artist, and I said I want him. But it took me to say, okay, understanding that the company goes global. I'm 38 years old. I've not built nothing for myself. It's late, and also feeling that my English is still too poor to get to the second stage of, going right. to sell with studios and all that. So I feel that the company also has different needs. And I thought everything is happening well. We are doing a great job. We are winning pitches. We are good. It's time to go. Better to go now where everything is happily happening, and still get the strengths to build something for me, just to get a life already, frankly, because it's sure. You end up for 2 years I almost didn't work. I was actually burnt out without knowing it. And then when I said I'm going, the next day I saw Ravi in the lobby and say, oh, okay, cool. And he did a fantastic job. He maximized where I started and grew the department. So that was brilliant for me to see, as there's a sort of legacy carried on. I see you are 6 minutes.
No, that's all good.
So, okay.
So tell me what the first project you did solo or as your own company, which was the art of, the name of it again?
The Art of Direction.
Art of Direction.
Okay, I need to apologize on that big title. When I found that this title wasn't already taken on the web, domain.
Yeah.
My God, is what I do is like you do art for directors and you art direct. So this is it. but it was not meant to be me on my own. Yeah. So and I'm still right now, after 3 years down the line. Now I think it's a phase where I need to grow a bit and making it bigger and welcome partners.
Yeah.
But so far I've established a workflow and established something that maybe is not unique in other fields, but in movies is actually shake a bit the convention and way of working. Across the way of Andy Nicholson, which we met on a production on Golden Compass a few years before, and I was in Macedonia organizing some consulting with super high-tech pipeline guys that I love, and he called me and said, Virginie, I need a team in 2 weeks. Okay, that's fast, and I did. So we started on Assassin's Creed.
Right, and the reason you could do that is you knew people.
Yeah,
right?
I had like, I did more than 30 titles, and I had already by the past had my core team, but also hired remote artists. So I knew, and it was easy for me. I already basically all I learned how I developed the process at MPC. I applied it for production designer, to basically know how to cast the best team for a movie. So it's very flexible, and it's almost, you follow the creative process as a discussion, and you say, oh, now this is the artist who can provide, he's got the sensitivity to connect with the production designer or director, or now you need a bit more creative storyboard, or this artist needs support, and I'm just here making doodles, ugly doodles on top of their art now, because for me, I can't do their work. They are supposed to be faster now, better than me, and I need to keep that global vision to know, first of all, to guide them, and to be the most efficient and the most creative, and digging, well, okay, we've seen that before. Let's this is references, this is this idea, let's dig more.
Yes.
So you need a full-time job for that.
So when a film is going, and when you're staffing up, crewing up for the art department, where are you based?
I'm based for the first 2 movies in studios, like Pinewood Studios, and the last movie, Captain Marvel, they allow me to be in Barcelona. So I'm looking at now being between London and Barcelona, basically.
Right, wow.
So I had people with me, and I had remote artists.
And do you get a chance to do any of your own artwork or designing at all, or is that no longer what you're
I use this company as a vehicle to do really what I want and regenerate in terms of artistic experimentation. And in between movies, I go to Vietnam, for example, and bring a photographer from here, and we do a creative co-creation with a dance company. That was last year. This year, I'm pushing my project of documentaries about our world, and again, trying to do more co-creation as possible, where is not. The goal is to co-create.
Okay.
The goal is to push your own creativity, to get that safe space, to never be burnt out as well, and always enrich yourself. So it's a kind of a cycle, you know?
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to ask you about is the type of people that end up working on your productions. Are they freelancers? Are they already at a company? Right, they're all freelancers. And can they be anywhere in the world? Or?
Yes, if they have an experience in movie when they are remote. If not, they have to be with me.
Okay.
They need to know the rules of the movie industry to work remote, frankly. But I have like youngsters, like top senior artists, top technician artists, It's really, I'll explain that in my talk actually.
Oh, okay.
How I do that.
Well, if you're at THU, you'll be able to hear that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. It's been really great talking to you about this, and I think a lot of people wouldn't realise that this is actually how, you know, sometimes the art department works, and how a film basically gets made.
It's evolving. Like there's plenty of art department now everywhere on the four corners of the world, and everyone has his own recipe. I try just to adapt to now production design, being a bridge with VFX as much as I can because it's where I come from, and trying to bring people together basically for one vision of the movie and the director.
All right, well, great to talk to you. Thanks so much, Viginnie.
Great to talk to you.
And that's it, guys, for this one, and there's plenty more THU TV coming during the week. Thanks so much.